Chapter 18. The Minister for Defence was sitting on a rock with his feet in the creek. Kevin actually lay in the cold water, letting it run over his big, hairy body. Fee was perched above Homer's head on another rock, looking like a little goddess. She was so light I wouldn't have been surprised to see her suddenly grow rainbow-coloured wings and flutter away. Robin was lying on her back on the bank, reading My Brilliant Career. Chris was a few metres from me, under a tree, his smokes beside him. I don't know whether I should really call them his smokes, though. He was gazing at the big rocky cliffs that we could see through the trees in the distance. Corrie was sitting next to Robin. She had a radio out again. They bought fresh batteries that they'd found in Wirrawee, and she was trying them. One of the women they talked to had said that some pirate radio stations were on the air at times, giving news and advice. Corrie was checking the shortwave bands too, but it would be hard to get them in daytime, and we weren't in an easy place for radio reception. I was curled up into Lee, my head in his chest, burrowing into him like I was a baby. We'd spent most of the afternoon passionately holding and kissing and touching, till I felt I would fall apart, as though the fibres that held my body together were disappearing. It had been Homer whom I felt more physically attracted to. Originally, what drew me to Lee was his mind, his intelligent, sensitive face, and the security that I felt with him. Homer didn't exactly radiate security. But beneath Lee's calm exterior, I found someone deeply passionate. I was a virgin, and I knew Lee was. Matter of fact, I think we all were, except maybe Kevin. I'm pretty sure he and Sally Noack had done the dirty deed regularly when they had a long relationship last year. But if we'd had the privacy that hot afternoon in the clearing in hell, I think Lee and I might have lost our virginity simultaneously. I was clinging to him and pressing against him as though I wanted to get my whole body inside him. And I liked the way I could make him groan and gasp and sweat. I liked giving him pleasure, although it was hard to tell what was pleasure and what was pain. I was teasing him, touching him, and saying, "Does that hurt? Does that? Does that?" And he was panting, saying, "Oh, God, no, yet no." It made me feel powerful. But he got his revenge. I'm not sure who had the last laugh or the last cry. Normally, when I'm out of control, when I get swept off by the white water, whether it's the giggles or the blues or one of my famous tantrums, I can still stand outside myself and smile and think, what a maniac. Part of my mind stays detached, can watch what I'm doing, can think about it and be aware of it all. But that afternoon with Lee, no, I was lost somewhere in the rapids of my feelings. If life is a struggle against emotion, then I was losing. It was almost scary. I was actually relieved when Homer yelled that it was time to start our conference. I said to Robin, "Good book?" She said, "Yeah, it's okay. We've got to read it for English." We still hadn't adjusted to the fact that the world had changed, that school wasn't going to start on the normal day. I suppose we should have been delighted at the thought of not going to school, but we weren't. I was starting to want to use my brain again, to wrestle with new ideas and difficult theories. I decided then that I'd follow Robin's example and read some of the harder books that we'd brought with us. There was one called The Scarlet Letter that looked like a good tough one. "Well," Homer began, "we've got to make more decisions, guys. I've been looking up at the sky every 5 minutes, waiting for the American troops to drop down in their big green choppers, but there's no sign of them yet. And Corrie hasn't heard any news flashes yet to tell us that help is on its way. So we might just have to do it on our own for a bit longer. The way I see it, these are our choices now that we know a bit more about the deal. 1, we can sit tight and do nothing. And there's nothing chicken about that. It's got a lot to recommend it. We're not trained for this stuff, and it's important for ourselves and our families, and for that matter, even our country, that we stay alive. 2, we can have a go at getting our families and maybe other people out of the showground. That's a tough one, probably way beyond our reach. I mean, we've got rifles and shotguns, but they'd be pop guns compared to what these turkeys are using. 3, we can do something else to help the good guys. That's us, I might add, in case anyone's confused." He grinned at Robin. "We could involve ourselves in some way that would help us win this war and get our country back. There's other things we could do, of course, other options like moving somewhere else or surrendering. But they're so remote I don't think they're worth discussing. Although we will if anyone wants to, of course. So, that's the deal, that's for real, that's what I feel. 3 choices, and I think it's time we made one and stuck to it. He leaned back and crossed his arms and put his feet in the water again. There was quite a silence, then Robin took up the invitation. "I'm still not sure what's right or wrong in this whole setup," she said, "but I don't think I could sit around here for months not doing anything. It's just an emotional thing. I couldn't do it. I agree with Homer that the showground's beyond our reach, but I feel we've got to get out and have a go at something. On the other hand, I don't want us to go around killing a lot of people. I've read those Vietnam books like Fallen Angels, where the woman hid a mine in her own kid's clothes and gave it to a soldier to hold, and then blew them both up. I still have nightmares about that. I'm already having nightmares about those people we ran down in the truck. But I guess my nightmares are small suffering compared to what some people have had. My nightmares are just the price I have to pay. I know that. Despite what these people say about a clean invasion, I think all wars are filthy and foul and rotten. There was nothing clean about them blowing up Corey's house or killing the Francis family. I know this might sound a bit different from what I said before, but I don't think it is. I can understand why these people have invaded, but I don't like what they're doing, and I don't think there's anything very moral about them. This war has been forced on us, and I haven't got the guts to be a conscientious objector. I just hope we can avoid doing too much that's filthy and foul and rotten." No one else had much to add for a while. Then Fee, who was looking white and miserable, said, "I know logically we should do this and we should do that, but all I know is that the thought of doing anything makes my nose bleed. All I really want to do is go down to the hermit's hut and hide under his moldy old bed till this is over. I'm really fighting myself to stop from doing that. I suppose when the time comes, I'll probably do whatever I have to, but the main reason I'll do it is because I feel the pressure of keeping up with you guys. I don't want to let you down. I feel so ashamed if I couldn't match you in whatever it is we've decided to do. I don't think there's any way we can help our families right now, so not losing face with you all has become my biggest thing. And what worries me is that I can't guarantee I won't pack up under pressure. The trouble is, I'm so full of fear now that anything could happen. I'm scared that I might just stand there and scream." "Peer group pressure," said Lee, but with a sympathetic smile at Fee. He was using one of Mrs. Gilchrist, our principal's favourite phrases. "Well, of course, you're the only one who feels that way," Homer said. "The rest of us don't know the word fear. Kevin can't even spell it. We know no feelings. We are androids, Terminators, Robocops. We're on a mission from God. We're Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman." He went on more seriously. "No, it's a big problem. None of us knows how we'll react when the fan gets hit. I know what it's been like for me so far, just doing little things, like waiting in that car in Three Pigs Lane. My teeth were chattering so bad I had to hold my mouth shut to keep them in. I don't know how I didn't vomit. I was absolutely convinced I was going to die." We kept talking on, over and under around the topic. Apart from Fee, the ones who were the least keen were Chris and, strangely enough, Kevin. I could understand it a bit with Chris. He just lived in his own world most of the time. His parents were overseas. He didn't have many friends. In fact, I don't think he liked people all that much. He probably could have lived in the hermit's hut quite happily, unlike Fee, who would have gone crazy in half a day. But I got the impression that, like Fee, Chris would go along with whatever we decided. In his case, because he didn't have the energy or initiative to stand out against the group. Kevin was more of a puzzle, changing his attitude from one day to the next. There were times when he seemed bloodthirsty and at times when he seemed chicken. I wondered if it depended on how long it had been since he'd been close to danger. Maybe when he'd had some action recently, he went a bit quiet, dived for cover. But when things had been safe for a while, he started getting his aggression back. As for me, I was a mess of different feelings. I wanted to be able to make calm, logical decisions, to put points for and against on opposite sides of a piece of paper. But I couldn't get my feelings out of the road enough to do it. When I thought about those bullets and the ride on Moa and the truck ride, I shook and felt sick and wanted to scream, just like Fee and Homer and everyone else. I didn't know how I'd handle it when it all happened again. Maybe it'd be easier. Maybe it'd be harder. Nevertheless, I think we all felt that we should do something, if only because the idea of doing nothing seemed so appalling we couldn't even contemplate it. So we started tossing a few ideas around. Gradually, we found ourselves talking more and more about the road from Cobbler's Bay. It seemed like that was where the most important action was. We decided that when Homer and Fee and Lee and I went out the following night, we'd concentrate our attentions there. I walked away from our meeting, leaving everyone, even Lee, and went back up the track quite a way. I ended up sitting on one of Satan's steps in the last of the hot afternoon. I could hear the creek churning away over a pile of rocks below me. I'd been there about 10 minutes when a dragonfly landed near my feet. By then I must have become part of the landscape because he seemed to ignore me. When I looked at him, I realized he had something in his mouth. Whatever it was still wriggling and flitting its little wings. I bent forward slowly and looked more closely. The dragonfly kept ignoring me. I could see now that it was a mosquito that he had, and he was eating it alive. Bit by bit, the mosquito, still struggling wildly, was munched up. I watched, fascinated, until it was completely gone. The dragonfly perched there for another minute or so, then suddenly flew away. I sat back again against the hot rock. So that was nature's way. The mosquito felt pain and panic, but the dragonfly knew nothing of cruelty. He didn't have the imagination to put himself in the mosquito's place. He just enjoyed his meal. Humans would call it evil, the big dragonfly destroying the mosquito and ignoring the little insect's suffering. Yet humans hated mosquitoes too, calling them vicious and bloodthirsty. All these words like evil and vicious, they meant nothing to nature. Yes, evil was a human invention. Chapter 19. It was dark, probably around midnight. We were lying in a culvert looking at